What's going on, good people? This is the Common Man Nate Lewis with the common take on NXT for February 10th, 2016. Know I'm a little late with the show, but you know how things go. I definitely want to give you guys a recap, and after the fiasco last week of not having my notes and being very ill prepared, my notes are open and they're ready to go. Let's do this. NXT is actually from the CFE arena tonight, so we're at a brand new set of tapings. Baron Corbin leads us off with the show as he's facing Johnny Gargano, aka Johnny Wrestling. And from here on out, that's what he will be called, is Johnny Wrestling. Match starts off and Johnny's playing the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, sticking and moving offense. Eventually, Corbin gets a handle on him and goes for a foot stomp, which Johnny Wrestling gets out of and starts to go with the 10 punches in a corner. At that point, Baron pushes him off and lands a big right hand, and we move into the heat segment. During this time, he's getting the offense, and there is a pop-up letting me know Table for 3 is next on the WWE Network with Eva Marie. WWE is not trying to hide the fact that they love Eva Marie. They're trying to put her in as many positions as possible, whether it be on television or in like little pop-ups like this where they show her looking hot. Anyway, back to the match. Corbin puts the stomps on Johnny Wrestling. And at this point, the NXT crowd, I believe, is chanting Morgan Freeman. If anybody watched the show and can either verify that that's what this chant was or was it something else, I'm not sure. Pretty good match so far. Nothing really too special, nothing out of the ordinary. NXT crowd definitely loves Johnny Wrestling. We eventually get to a spot where Johnny's on the apron and Corbin's on the inside of the ring, and he goes to barrel towards Johnny and eats a spear from the outside to the inside. The two eventually brawl outside. Johnny's punching, he's kicking, just punching and kicking all the way around the ring. Eventually, Corbin rolls into the ring. Johnny Wrestling goes after him and eats a end of days, and we get the pin. This match was really good. There was a near fall spot where Johnny Wrestling gets a super kick in and gets a near fall. Very good spot. Match was pretty good. We then get a recap of the triple threat match from 2 weeks ago, and that's followed by the William Regal decision from last week. So we get Sami Zayn with Alex Reyes. Reyes comes up with a new way to ask, what are your thoughts on what we just saw? Sami's kind of short and to the point. He says that he's disappointed in that he thought he won the match, but he also noted that his road to becoming the first ever two-time NXT champion was just as tough as his first run to the NXT title, so he wasn't expecting this one to be different. He mentions it's the first time that him and Joe will be in the ring one-on-one next week, and that Joe will not stand in his way. We're back from the break, and we get a Vaudevillas promo again, even though they've already re-debuted with the same gimmick. Yeah. The Hype Bros come out. Oh, the Hype Bros. That music hits. The crowd goes, eh. Zack Ryder comes running out. Let me tell you something about Zack Ryder. When Zack Ryder first started doing the true the E or the Z True Hollywood Story, and he had his videos on YouTube, I was like, wow, this guy's really funny. He's creative. I hope WWE does something with him. The show got pretty popular. Fans started chanting for him at live events or anytime they were in the Long Island, New York area. He started putting the guy on TV. They gave him the U.S. title, and his career has basically gone nowhere since. And there have been times, whether you watch his show or read his Twitter, that it seems like Zack has given up, and now they put him with Mojo fucking Rawley. Anyway, Mojo's jumping around on the outside, looking like an idiot. And he does this thing where he goes around and he high-fives everybody around the ringside area. and he found exactly one guy to high five. Good for you, Mojo. You got one fan there. Hype Bros are in a match against, which I would later find out was John Skyler and Corey Hollis. But when they show the two opponents, I'm looking at one guy, and I honestly, God, had to ask myself, holy shit, is that Brian Caraway? So I took to Twitter and I typed in wrestlers that look like Brian Caraway, just on the off chance the results will come back with something. It did not. So I basically had to watch the match, and finally it wasn't Corey Graves, it was Todd Phillips finally announces that the guy I thought looked like Caraway was John Skyler. Went to Twitter to verify. If you find John Skyler on Twitter, you'll see some pictures, and then go look at Brian Caraway. They're almost the same guy. The match itself wasn't too much to the match. At one point, Corey Graves is talking about all of Zack Ryder's accomplishments. Former U.S. champion. He failed to mention that Zack's a former tag team champion and the internet champion. And now Zack is stuck with this blithering idiot partner, Mojo Rawley. So I know Corey is a heel announcer, but the complete burial of Mojo Rawley is something that will make him a babyface, in my opinion. So we're into the match. Ryder starts it off, gets some drop kicks early. We get the tag to Mojo. They kind of show some pretty good tag team spots here. So at this point, I was kind of like, okay, well, I can kind of see something here. Mojo's in, does his "he ain't hype" chant, tags out very quickly, gets Ryder back in the match, and that's where the heat spot comes in. Didn't take too long. Ryder was eventually able to get the hot tag to Mojo Rawley, and this is where I wrote, tag back to Mojo, shoulder tackles and splashes time. And that's exactly what we got. Shoulder tackle, shoulder tackle, shoulder tackle, shoulder tackle, splash. Brewski boot in the corner. That's the end of it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They did the elevated Rough Rider where Mojo kind of holds up the opponent and Zack Ryder comes down with the Rough Rider. They called it the Hype Rider, I believe it was. I seem to be down on Mojo here, but the match itself was fine. It was a chance to showcase the two guys, and obviously they're working on some things together. They seem to work well together. Not a bad match. I don't see this team going anywhere, and it makes me feel really depressed for Zack Ryder. We got backstage. We have Bayley and Carmella being interviewed. Reyes asked Bayley if she expects to win tonight. I don't even know why you would ask that question. Bayley then says that holding on to the title has been hard, and she mentions all the people she's had to face in her title run: Sasha Banks, Eva Marie, Alexis Bliss, Nia Jax. Says she's happy for Carmella, but she's not ready to lose the title tonight. Carmella then speaks and kind of makes mention that this is her shot, and you get your one chance to win the championship, and who knows if she'll ever get another title shot. They both say, or Carmella says, let the best woman win. They shake hands, go their separate ways. We get a graphic for Joe versus Zayn next week. And out comes the NXT GOAT, Alexa Bliss. Followed by her, I don't want to call them lackeys, but I won't call them that. Blake and Murphy come out with her. For those who have been speculating for weeks that Alexa Bliss with her hand accessory is somewhat paying homage to Freddy Krueger, it was very apparent as she came out with a Freddy Krueger kind of half shirt. And I'm not exactly sure if, I don't know, which one is she dating? Which one is Alexis Bliss dating? I think she's dating, I want to say it's Blake. I could be wrong on that. Let me get a second here. This is great radio here. I'm fairly certain it's Blake. We'll say it's Blake. If I'm wrong, someone will correct me. But Blake himself also comes out with a half shirt, which is, brother, let me tell you this. I don't care if you are Terry Crews or The Rock ripped. You should not be wearing half shirts. Just leave that to the ladies. Either way, they get down to the ring. She does her entrance, and this music hits, and I'm not sure exactly who it is. But then out walks Cameron. And I'm going, dear God, Alexa Bliss and Cameron. This is going to be a battle. And Cameron's walking down to the ring with her outfit that includes a bow tie, or a miniature tie, I should say. That needs to go. And I'm getting ready to just kind of go back to my notes, read over something, and I see Cameron, who is clearly a heel, go to shake a ringside viewer's hand. And she extends her hand out. The fan sticks his hand out. She, in one motion, pulls her hand back, does a spin, and then the girl by. I want to emphasize, she did this in one motion. She had her hand out, took it back, spin, and girl by. Didn't miss a step. Was able to keep on the same walking path the entire time. This has to be the most impressive thing I've seen Cameron do on any type of WWE programming. So we get to the match. They trade arm drags. Look, I actually wrote an insane amount of notes for this match. Before I even get into anything that happened in the match, I'll go to something I said later on in my notes. This match is so bad, and it's so good at the same time. Now, I love Alexa Bliss. I call her the NXT GOAT. I think this girl has star quality and star potential written all over. That said, in the ring, she's still learning. There's a level of inexperience that shows a lot in her matches. Although I thought her match with Bayley was great, the match that they had, and I'll get more into Bayley later here. But the fact that she can look that good in a match with Bayley speaks a lot to how great Bayley is. But getting to this match, like I said, they trade arm drags at the beginning. Cameron backs up Alexa into the corner, and this is where I wrote, anything that Cameron does that does not involve physically wrestling, she is amazing at. She's yelling at the ref. She's yelling at the crowd. She's got a ton of charisma. She can't work a lick, but she's got a ton of charisma. Now, this is a battle of two heels, as obviously Cameron's a heel and Bliss with Blake and Murphy as a heel as well. But in the match itself, Cameron is clearly the bigger heel of the two. They do a spot where Alexis is kind of crawling, kind of recovering from a move, and Cameron comes sweeping in, throws a knee to Alexa, and ends in a split. Don't get me wrong, it's a cool spot. I don't see what the point of it is, but it was impressive. She was able to pull it off and seemingly not kill Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss ends up in the ropes. Cameron jumps off and just drives her knees right into Alexa's back. This looked like it sucked. And this is where the match results in a lot of face slamming into the mat and pummel spots. We get a spot where Alexa is standing on Cameron's back and kind of leaning on the ropes, and then takes her 1 foot and begins stomping the shit out of Cameron's head. Crowd got into that spot. They started chanting one more time. And at this point, this is where I wrote the match is so bad it's good. Cameron takes the advantage. This match, when I say went back and forth, it literally went back and forth. There was no momentum swings. It was you hit a move, I hit a move, you hit a move, I hit a move, and it just kept going. Cameron threw these god-awful elbows. Just back and forth, nothing really clear going. Alexa gets the advantage as she goes for a moonsault, which she hits the moonsault and she lands feet first on her opponent. She kind of misses. She gets the knees basically on the side of Cameron, and the announcers try to clean that up and say, oh, that's how she normally hits the move. She hits this. She goes up for the sparkle splash, gets the pin. I'm not doing this match justice. You've heard me say that before. And if you've ever gone back when I tell you to go back and watch something and you will enjoy it, this is how I feel about this match. Go back and watch this match. It's terribly good. It is terribly phenomenal. Hey, honey. My wife just walked into the room here. She's trying not to make any noise. I appreciate that, but no, you're good. Backstage, we saw Carmella warming up for her title match, the main event tonight. Up next, we get Enzo and Cass. And honey, since you're here right now, I almost have got to show you this promo with Enzo and Cass. You've never seen Enzo and Cass, really, have you?
No.
I don't think you have. You like these guys. We're not talking Vampire Diaries on the podcast here. Enzo and Cass are backstage. Cass is letting the Mechanics know that they were the tag team of the year in 2015, and that will be the tag team of the year in 2016, which means that they will be going back to back. Yes, they made a Drake joke here on NXT programming, which allows me to think that this must have been shot sometime around Drake getting a nomination for the Grammy for back-to-back. Anyway, they keep going with it. They do the Lethal Weapon line, and in walks the runner-up, in my opinion, tag team of the year, the American Alphas. Gable runs in. He completely botches the Michael Jordan line. They tease him for not knowing the lyrics. Look, there's just so much greatness in this promo. There was one thing I got confused on, though. They were implying, or Jason Jordan was implying basically that it was 2016. It's an Olympic year, which means this will be the year they would win Tag Team of the Year. And somehow this resulted in jokes about Gable misimplying a line or saying a line incorrectly or not knowing what he's talking about. I watched this a few times. I didn't catch that, but basically at the end of this, Jordan brings it back full circle. He says they're wrestling Blake and Murphy and the Mechanics next week, and I got confused by that too. I'm not sure if that means they're wrestling 2 matches next week or if they're someone in a gauntlet. But at the end, they're all in agreement. They're all happy, and Gable tries to get his Ready, Willing, and Gable in. Guys all walk off. This was a fun promo. So definitely go back and watch this one. Something you do not need to watch. I hear the music and out comes I'm going to read exactly what my note says. Oh God, it's the fucking Drifter. Now at this point, people, I'm trying to watch the show. I'm taking notes. And my wife alerts me that, asked me if I've watched Scandal yet, which I hadn't. So here comes the Drifter. I don't want to see this man. My wife reminds me of a show that I actually do want to watch. I'm just telling you people, Elias Sampson almost made me stop watching NXT to watch Scandal. That's clearly what happens here. I have no notes on this match. There is nothing to talk about. He gets the win. I'm not discussing this any further. We get a recap of Apollo Crews and Finn Balor's match from last week. And we get our main man, Alex Reyes, again asking Crews if he regrets asking for the match. I need to go back and keep track of how many dumb questions Alex Reyes asks every week and just have a running tally. Crews doesn't say all that much here. He says he knows what he needs to do to get better and vows that the next time you see him, you'll see a new and improved Apollo Crews. And that takes us to the main event, Carmella versus Bayley. Carmella's out first, does her moonwalk, does her normal spiel before the match. Bayley is out next. Bayley is clearly, aside from Finn Balor, the most popular person on NXT. We get the awesome championship lighting before the match. And before they lock up, these guys are best friends. They hug. Now, if you remember what I said a few weeks ago, this storyline, in most cases where you have the two friends fighting for the title and one is clearly the star and the other's the upstart. This would be clearly a recipe for a heel turn for Carmella. But as I said a couple podcasts ago, I didn't think it was the right time to do it, especially with her being attached to Enzo and Cass, who are clearly baby faces. So if you took all that in consideration, you would figure that at the end of this match, these two would go in, Bayley would get the pin, and at the end they would be best friends at the end of the match as well. And that's exactly what happened here. The match itself at the beginning was just okay. Actually, really nothing all that special here. I wrote a couple things down, but nothing really to get excited over until we get a spot where Bayley falls off the top rope, hits her hip right on the edge of the apron. Trust me, people, I know from experience, that sucks. So she's outside selling. Carmella's in the ring, and she is concerned for her friend, but at the same time, she's in a championship match, and as she stated earlier, she may never get another chance again. So she's conflicted. She sees Bayley on the outside. The crowd starts to buzz, and she takes off, hits a suicide dive on the outside, and at this point, the crowd is losing their shit. She rolls back in the ring. You can hear Graves on commentary saying, "Roll her back in, get the pin." And as she's thinking this, Carmella again is conflicted because she wants to win this match. She knows she has to win this match, and it's going to take a lot to put her friend away. So she hits the move again. At this point, the match completely kind of turned around. This match got great. Carmella goes to hit a downward spiral and go into her submission. Bayley counters that, and we get a series of roll-ups. Roll-up after roll-up after roll-up, and then eventually Bayley gets the pin out of a roll-up. I was at this point, right after the pin, I went to go see how much time was left on the show, and it was I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes left in the show, so kind of spoiled it for myself that we were going to get a post-match angle here. But the match was good. It felt quick, and had you not known what I'd done, you would have been just thinking it was a quick match. Bayley goes in. She gives Carmella a hug. They celebrate, kind of like what you thought would happen. Bayley's in the ring. Carmella goes out to let her best friend celebrate. And as Bayley's in the ring, she's kind of circling the crowd, waving, smiling. And she turns to the entranceway and sees that Nia Jax and Eva Marie are just putting the boost to Carmella. So she goes out to make the save. Now, I wrote some notes about this exact beatdown in the entranceway. I defended Eva Marie a couple weeks ago and said, hey, they put the girl on TV way too soon and she's still learning the business. A lot of that doesn't have to necessarily do with just physically what you do in the ring and how to do it. A lot of it's also mental too. Why you're doing something. How to react to something. When's the best time to sell? Okay, so Bayley goes out. I believe she goes to hit Eva Marie first. Eva goes to sell, and then Bayley goes right after Nia Jax. And I'm not sure if maybe it was discussed in the back that Bayley would go and hit Nia first and then Eva Marie. But Eva gets hit first. She sells for like a half a second. And then she goes immediately back to stomping on Carmella as now Bayley's going to attack Nia Jax. Kind of doesn't, it just, you have to kind of watch this to kind of get what I'm saying here, but it was almost like Eva couldn't pull an audible and go, hey, I just got hit. Maybe I should sell this for a minute. But eventually, the heels overtake the baby faces. Nia then drags Carmella into the ring for more of a beating. And at that point, Asuka hits the ring. And we get a stare down between Asuka and Nia Jax. The crowd is really getting into this. This seems like a match that could be a lot of fun. Eventually, Eva convinces Nia to kind of fall back. They leave the ring. Bayley gets back in the ring. She wants to check on her friend. And as she slowly turns around, Asuka is looking directly at her and directly at that title. There is not so much a stare down as Asuka is kind of sending a message to Bayley that title is something that I want. Bayley is the champion who's gravely concerned at the prospect of this new challenger. Asuka dusts off the belt, goes to leave. Bayley goes to check on her fallen friend, and we hit what we thought was the end of the show. Before I actually get to what happened at the end of the show, like I said, the match was pretty good. It turned around after the dive spots. This post-match, to me, was awesome. It set up so many future storylines, so many things that they can work on, not just with the title picture itself, but with other feuds. And I mean, you can see the tag match between Eva, Nia Jax, and Bayley and Carmella. You see Asuka, Nia Jax, Eva Marie, and Asuka, Eva Marie, and Bayley, Nia Jax, and Bayley. There's just so many things that got set up here. And this women's division, you know, what a lot of people thought when that the three of the horsewomen left, when Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks left, that the division was gonna, it was gonna be a little bit on the downside, with just Bayley kind of being left there. But they have done a phenomenal, NXT has done a phenomenal job of, even with girls that aren't necessarily ring ready, they made the division interesting. And it's a lot more than what's happened with the other girls on the main roster, although things are turning around for them. The ending segment was Samoa Joe backstage. It was an interview they promised earlier. Thankfully, there was no Alex Reyes here. It was just a straight one-on-one camera shot with Samoa Joe. Joe's great here. Didn't say much, but just the intensity. Just fucking put Samoa Joe on the main roster. I'm ready for that now. I've been a Samoa Joe fan for well over a decade. There was a time when he was in TNA where I stopped watching, and I heard Joe stop caring. But God damn it, just this promo here, I am so excited for Joe and Sami Zayn. Bring that shit on. And that was the end of NXT. I really liked this show. Like I said, go back and watch the Alexa Bliss Cameron match and enjoy that for what it is. Go back and watch the Enzo interview. And you know, even the Hype Bros, they were, you know, that match was a lot of fun too. So there's a lot of good things to watch on the show. Alrighty, and you know what? Hang on here. I had something here I was going to play, and now it won't. You know what? Screw it. All right, we'll get to our usual ending here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Whether you're using SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher, thank you so much. Description for all those will be in or links for all those will be in the description. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you listen. Let me know how I'm doing. Leave a review. Leave a comment. All that. Sorry, my puppy's being admonished here. What, is everything all right? Yeah, apparently he must have been in big trouble for my wife to come barging in here and to be yelling at him. Thank you guys so much for listening. Also, check out the website, thecommonmanpodcast.weebly.com. You'll find all the links there, the latest shows, news, things like that. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace and chicken grease.